we've had some discussions here when it comes to NBA basketball and NBA playoffs, specifically the Philadelphia 76ers and James Harden. And off stream, I've had some conversations with different individuals. Some of them are friends of mine, real life friends of mine. Others are just regular, other streamers that happen to talk NBA basketball. And still some others are viewers of a few other streams. And last night, in a must-win game, yet again, James Harden failed to show up. Yet again, Doc Rivers couldn't get out of the second round. And yet again, the Philadelphia 76ers, 4 years out of 5, and on the anniversary of being eliminated by Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors 3 years ago in a Game 7, they essentially no-showed last night. Philadelphia 76ers fans ran Ben Simmons out of Philadelphia. And part of the reason they ran Ben Simmons out of Philadelphia was because he took 2 shots as their point guard. He took 2 shots in the final half of an elimination game. And they were, and I mean Sixers fans were obnoxious, beyond obnoxious, when they got rid of Ben Simmons and brought in James Harden. And James Harden took 2 shots in the second half of an elimination game last night and essentially just disappeared. What's more is Joel Embiid also no-showed these last 2 games. And there was talk, specifically Charles Barkley, saying that they felt or they were told, I don't remember which, but they felt or they were told that Embiid was pouting over the fact that he didn't win MVP. That it went to Jokic again. I've said this earlier this week when it was leaked that Jokic was likely to be announced as the winner. And unfortunately, I don't have this graphic, but I saw a graphic just at the beginning of the playoffs, right after the end of the regular season, where there were 40 advanced analytics that the NBA or NBA stat keepers tracked. Joel Embiid led the league in 5 of those stats. Giannis led the league in 5 of those stats. And the Joker led the other 30 of them. Now, it's certainly possible that Embiid or Giannis were second or third in all of those stats. Does not change the fact that out of 40 advanced analytics, Jokic led in 30 of them. How does that not make you the MVP of the regular season? And to hear Sixers fans talk about it, and I make no bones about this, all right? I think Philadelphia fans, it doesn't matter if you're a Flyers fan, a Phillies fan, a Sixers fan, or an Eagles fan. I think Philly fans, and go ahead and flame me if you want to, I don't care. But I think Philly fans are some of the most obnoxious, entitled fans in the history of sports. And that's saying something because I do cheer. One of my NFL teams is the Dallas Cowboys, and let me be honest, that fan base can be obnoxious. I do cheer for Manchester United and have for 40 years in the Premier League. Believe me, that fan base can be obnoxious. So I come from fan bases that are obnoxious. I try very hard to go. I'm a Lakers fan too. Another 40-plus year team. I know how obnoxious the Lakers fans can be. But for me personally, I'll at least look at the situation and go, take this year, for example. The LA Lakers got exactly what they deserved. I mean, exactly what they deserved. You had the oldest starting lineup in the history of the NBA, and you thought that was going to be a good idea? I sure didn't. At no point in time did I ever think that. I never once looked at that lineup and went, we're going to win a championship. Not once. And I'm being dead honest with it. Sixers fans, just, they are busy trying to crucify absolutely everybody. But you've grabbed a James Harden that hasn't been James Harden for years. And what's more is, personally, James Harden is not the answer ever. He had Russ and KD for years in OKC. Couldn't get it done there. He moved to Houston and was there for 8 years in Houston and had Russ and a number of other great players there. Couldn't get it done. He didn't make it a year with Kyrie and KD in New Jersey. And then he played with Joel Embiid and couldn't get through there either. And I don't want to hear from Sixers fans. I don't want to hear, well, Embiid didn't play the first two games. Those were still very winnable games. What's more is Kyle Lowry played just 3 of the 6 games, or two of the 6 games himself. I get that Kyle Lowry is 35. All right, I understand that. Again, just like James Harden, Kyle Lowry is not the Kyle Lowry that perhaps we remember. You had winnable games in games 1 and games 2 without Embiid, and you couldn't get it done. And then you had a game 5 and a game 6 after Embiid comes back, and they go ahead and they win games 3 and 4 to tie it up, and it gets announced that Embiid is not going to win the MVP. And for all the world, I don't know this for fact. This is speculation that Charles Barkley had mentioned. It's speculation that you see others talking about. You don't know it for fact because you're not inside the mind of the man. But for all the world, it looked like Embiid quit in games 5 and 6, like he was pouting. And aside from James Harden having a good couple of games this playoffs, he is not the answer. And nobody knows. He said last night after in the post-game press conferences, he said that he was going to be back. But it's a player option. And keep in mind, Harden wants one more max contract. And I'm not sure that there's a team out there that's going to give it to him. And I damn sure don't think it's going to be the Phillies, or the Sixers. I damn sure don't think it's going to be the Sixers. So the Sixers have a lot, because you're looking at Embiid, and Doc Rivers was already announced to be coming back. Morey has already said today that Doc Rivers is coming back. And Morey is the one that fell in love with Harden in Houston and was dying to bring him in to Philadelphia this year. So maybe that relationship keeps it going. But for all the world, I think that you're looking at a Sixers team that's going to end up being just like the Jazz team that you saw this year. Last year, they by all rights, the Jazz should have made it farther than they did last year, but there's something preventing that franchise from moving on. Whether it's the front office, whether it's the coaching staff, whether it's the player base, whether it's a combination of all three, there's something that's preventing the Jazz from moving on. For all the world, it looks the same in Philadelphia right now. And it'll be very interesting to see, as an outsider, what happens in Philly as we go through the offseason.